Okay, we left off last time. We were drawing we had gotten our college campus buildings in our map, and we had our imagery that we put in so we can trace over it. But we got an extra little job to do that's on the property of the college, and that is shown in this PDF file. And so the state is asking us as a college to produce the boundaries of these lots that are on the southern end of the campus. So not including lot 1 over here for some reason. Anyway, we're going to draw these in our map as shown by the legal description or also on the actual part of the map here that we can zoom in on. So the first thing we want to do is locate the starting point or the point of beginning, which would be the northwest corner of lot 4 here. There's some information here that we can glean from our previous knowledge of the Public Land Survey System, or the PLSS, and this shows us that we're at the section corners of 34, 35, and 2 and 3 of Townships 29 and Township 30 North. So let's take a look at where we can find this in our map. So the first thing we want to do is find our sections layer, and we do have it in our Chapter 4 folder in our class data folder. So we'll go here, and we should see a sections folder in here that we can add to our map. That's going to be on top. It's another polygon layer, and it's going to be on top of our building, so we could drag it under and so we can see it, or we can just right click on the swatch and set the fill to no color and then zoom out a little bit. So now we can see the sections. Okay, I don't know really which section is which, so let's label them. We have the Explore tool, so if I look at this section right here, I can look at the first division column is going to have section 35, which corresponds to 35 here. So in the lower left, right, in the southwestern corner of this section 35, that should be where 2 and 3 and 34 meet it. So that would be down here. So if I click here, that's section 2, 3, and 34. We can also label them. That's also nice to do. From the labeling, we can look at first division and turn on the labeling. And we can definitely see that 34, 35, 2, and 3 meet at this corner. So this is where we're going to start drawing the data. So I'll zoom in on this. And down. Okay, so it's going to be drawn south and to the east. Then we want them to be lines, so they're easier to draw that way. So what I want to do is go back up to my geodatabase, my Chapter 4 campus map, and I'm going to right click and create a new feature class, and I'll name it SJC lots, I guess, and it's going to be a line field. I'm not sure what they're going to do with this, so I'll just check all those. Next, I won't add any fields, just make sure it's in our New Mexico state plane. And next, we'll leave all those good for this map, so finish. And it should add it to our map, and it does. At this point, we can start editing. We can start drawing those lines in there. And so we can go to the edit ribbon, create, and we get a few things that we can, some tools on which to draw the layers. And so we click on the layer that we want to draw on, and we have these other tools. Well, we're just going to use the line tool here. And so it's ready to draw, and snapping is the next thing. And so right now, we can look at our snapping, and it'll snap to LAS points, so some LiDAR data. It'll snap to endpoints and vertex. So really, all I need are vertex. So when I get close enough to a vertex, it'll show a snapping, and even if the cursor isn't quite on it, and I click, it'll go right to it. So no matter how far I zoom in. All right, now I want to draw a line corresponding to this data right here. Looks like I want to go south 88 degrees, and I got to make sure I'm going the right direction because, well, I know that's the point of beginning, so I am going east and south. Although south isn't as easy to see because it's 88 degrees, but I definitely know that I'm going east because that's to the right. So I'm going to use these, and this is how you enter that data. So I'm going to right-click and look at direction and distance. So I'll click on that. Also, you might notice that right-click, and if I hover my cursor over that, keyboard shortcut for that is G. So next time we'll look at that. So again, south 88, 58, 40. So you'll notice there's dashes in between each of these. Is it 40? And I believe it was southeast. Double check. Yep, southeast and 131032, which is nearly a quarter mile. 131032. And no pitch is necessary. I'll just hit enter, and there it is. And then I can just hit G and type in the next one, which I don't know what it is. It's the same thing. I can tab to get to the next box. 131032. Double check. 88, 58, 40, 131032. Look in there once, hit enter. There's my next line. G. That brings me to this line, which is the point of beginning for lot 2 now, and I've already gone across to 4 and 3. So this one actually has a vertex that I'll need to establish here, and it's slightly different bearing and distance, of course. So we'll get that in, 903. I don't need to put the 0 in front of it, just dashes. And that's still east. Okay, without boring you to death now, let's get this one more in, and 318. There. I could proceed south and along the where that lot gets broken up into 3 pieces, but I'm just going to go around the outside edge, and then I'm going to stop at the southwest, not exactly at the corner. It doesn't go all the way to here. It's to the other section corner, but it goes about halfway, and then it's going to get to a point where I'm going to have to start back over at the point of beginning and then meet it. So I'll show you that. I'll just pause here and get to that point. On this particular one, on the far east boundary of this property, there is a it's going south 0 degrees, so I just put a 0 and a dash. You do have to have that placeholder in there, or else it'll not know what's. Has to have all 3 in there, so you can. Otherwise, it's going to assume that if there's less than 3, it's going to assume that the first one's the degrees. So just keep that in mind. So I'll draw that down. Actually, I messed up. This vertex, I drew the second one first. So if I want to go back, there's 2 ways you can do that. You can just do an undo, or you can hover over the vertex and right-click and delete vertex, and then I'm back to the previous one. Okay, it's at this point here on the map, and I'll pop this up over here, where I want to stop. I could draw this back across here and then start back over at the point of beginning at the northwest or southwest corner, well, the northwest corner of the of the lots. So yeah, I'll go ahead and draw this, and then start back on the point of beginning. And when I get to this point, I could continue up, or I'm just going to close this gap here without typing in how far it is, and that forces it to close, and that's where the error is going to be taken up, so I can actually force a close here and adjust the numbers if it has to be. So that's what I'm going to do now. So the way to do that is I've drawn all these in sequence, and so when I hit F2, or I can click on the Finish button down here, or right-click and Finish, either way, F2 does it. That creates one line out of that, and I'm going to have to break that up anyway, so no big deal. Likewise, I've drawn these edges here, and then I'm just going to look for the snap here and close that up, and then F2. So those will be aligned. Notice it selects the series of lines that you previously, or that you had drawn in sequence. So you can easily clear that selection, and you're still in the drawing tool. So I'm going to start back up here and then draw around. One thing to note here is if I'm starting at this corner and I want to go south, it shows that I am going north 10 seconds west. Well, how do I draw that since I start here? Well, as it turns out, all you have to do is switch the letters and not the numbers, right? So instead of northwest, I want to go south, and 0 degrees, 0 minutes, and 10 seconds, and east. So instead of north 10 seconds west, I want to go south 10 seconds east. And that's the exact opposite direction. And of course, I've got to get the distance right. There, and then I can go on. And again, this has me going northwest, which is actually coming from the right going left, whereas I just need to switch these directions. So I'm going to do this one more time, and then we'll just continue with that. So 88, 53, 55. And we're going east instead of west. So south, 88, 53, 55 east, as opposed to north, 88, 53, 55 west. 1309, 32. There. So it went the other way, and that's all it is. So sometimes you might get a label that doesn't give you a direction, but you can take the overall large direction here. The north, 0 degrees, 5 minutes and 21 seconds east for 300 feet. And then from there, it would go up to that next vertex where because I've already gotten this point here, so I don't have to type in that same direction for that distance because I've already established that vertex right here. Notice also that this distance 981.94 plus the 300 adds up to the 1281.94. So these two added up at that direction is what you're looking at for that line. So I'm just going to take since I can just connect that, I'm just going to take these next three lines, close that off, and then close this bottom line off, and this line, and that's probably going to do it, I think. So when I'm drawing in here, this is the last line before I can just connect to the top of the line that I've already drawn where there's a vertex waiting for me. So I notice that it's in the northeast direction, so I don't have to type that in. And I'm just going to go the 43, 17, oops, not right, 26, read the wrong one, and northeast, 26, 12, 41, and for 362, 25. Okay, now I know that somewhere over on the right there, right here, I can just click and then F2. So now I've just drawn that line. So now I can just finish this off. F2, look for that vertex here. Looks like there's two vertices here for some reason. Oh, there's actually a sections vertex. So let me turn off my sections and get the right section. Get the vertex that I drew rather than the sections that's already there. So you can kind of see that that section's just drawn right on top of it, but with a very minimal amount of error there. Okay, and there's one more that I need to draw. And that connects those. And clear the selection. Save my edits. These are all the edits that I need to draw looking over it, I think. Yeah, there's some easements and stuff, but I don't think the state wants those. So I need to save the edits right here. And yes, I want to save them. And I'm ready to send that off to the state. Well, almost. What I need to do is go back to my geodatabase and take the lots and export these to a shapefile, because that's what the state wants. And so we can just name it the same thing. Make sure the environment is using the same coordinate system. All those parameters, it's just all good. One thing, I'll go ahead and run it, but one thing I didn't show was the attribute table of this layer that we've just made. Has the shape length in it, and it may not have all the other information that I want. So before I export it, I'm going to go ahead and run that again, because what I want to do is break all these lines up into their individual lines. I think it'll make it easier for the state to take measurements and things. I don't know. Maybe that's just going too far. But this is what we can do here. Actually, what I should like to do is select these, and then in the edit ribbon I want to break or split into Kogo lines, and this will allow every line segment to be its own line that can have a bearing and a distance. So yeah, that's all good. Okay, so if I look at the line, now I have each individual line as a separate entity, so that's good. And the next thing I want to do is add a direction and a distance field in let me save this, in the attribute table. Okay, let's clear the selection. And I'm going to add a couple columns here. One, capital direction, because the name matters here. And it's going to be text. And it needs to be a certain length. I think it just needs, it doesn't actually have to be a specific length, I don't think. And let's add another one. And this one's going to be distance, capital D. And we'll make that a double. And let's save that. Okay, so now in my map, close that. these are ready to, now that I have them all selected, I want to go back to my edit, and I want to update the COGO attributes now that I've added the direction and distance line. So if I click on that, that should give me the direction and distance, which I need to select, update all values, update. Let me, oh, it creates a new layer. It didn't used to do that. One thing I did forget, sorry, is that these lines need to be, or this layer needs to be updated into its, to enable COGO basically. And so the easiest way to do that, I think, is to go to Tools and type in COGO here, enable COGO, and SJC lots doesn't like that. Let's run that. Looks like that sort of worked. And now in the edit ribbon, I should be able to update the COGO on it. And no different tolerances here. There we go. It added another layer there. Okay, so at least now it added, for arcs, you can have a radius and arc length. This didn't have any, and that's okay too. But now we have a direction. Now the direction's not the direction that I'm looking for. I wanted to have it, this is an azimuth probably, or yeah, it looks like it's probably an azimuth. So we're going to update that with the correct units now. So another thing is it made that extra layer, and that's probably because I updated before I should have. Anyway, with these, I can see that I still need to split these up into COGO lines. It's going to add another layer. I'll go ahead and overwrite the existing attributes and split. Okay, so that looks better. So let's take a look at the attributes, and very good, except for the direction. So now, so one way to make this work is these don't have to be selected, but we can calculate the geometry just manually. But still, our problem is we can set the line bearing, which is nice, and set the coordinate system, it's all the same. And then it would calculate that and put it into, it still is a text field, and it would still calculate that number and put it in that text field. However, these numbers are in azimuth, I believe. Although it, yeah, so mostly, yeah, it's in azimuth. We have one line that's 269 degrees, which is almost due west. So we don't have the correct direction. We can flip the lines around and do some things, but if this state doesn't want us to, then we don't. And we can actually do some more calculations on that to get the bearing, the quadrant bearing actually working. But I don't think ArcGIS is working the way it should. I'm going to look into that a little bit further. But at this point, we're good to go. We can send this off to a shapefile and send that on to the client. So as far as we're concerned, that's good enough. So let's export this again with the correct-ish data in it. And take these guys out. Just want the lots, and we'll put it in that chapter folder and set the coordinates. Well, the coordinates should be there anyway, so it may add it to the map again, or maybe not. So now we have an SJC lots. I have to refresh. Yep. Under the spatial reference, we still have our good coordinate system. So this is the shapefile. We can add to our map. Actually, and I just want to take a look at this attribute table and make sure it's correct. Oh, that must be the older one. Anyway, yep, that's the correct one.